Good afternoon, everyone. It's approximately 1 p.m. here in Chicago, Illinois. Before we start, we would like to conduct a quick poll. You shall see a question on your screen. Please share your responses. We would like to know the top 3 solutions you're already using in your institution from the list given. We are going to pause for 60 seconds so that you can type in your questions in the question pane or select the options given on the screen. Thank you so much for sharing your responses. This helps us setting the tone for today's session. On behalf of the entire QuickLaunch team, I would like to thank approximately 47 institutions including North Carolina Community College System, Governor State University, Elizabeth City State University, Portland Community College, New York Institute of Technology, and several other institutions who are dialed in today on this session. I would also like to thank Michael J. Wilson, System Administrator at Roanoke Chowan Community College, who would be walking us through his journey and experience with QuickLaunch to manage their identity needs. Michael, along with Dr. Leary, has been an integral part of our successful implementation at the campus. We are also joined in by Neeraj Kant, CEO QuickLaunch, who would walk us through the product offerings from the technology standpoint. A brief introduction about QuickLaunch. QuickLaunch ideated the product concept in 2013, and in 2014 we successfully released single sign-on and a multi-protocol translator called IDP or Identity Provider. Then mobility came in the picture along with password management that uses multi-factor authentication. Early 2018, QuickLaunch unleashed automated user provisioning along with onboarding 15 institutions from the higher education, namely LaSalle University, Hawaii Pacific University, St. Mary's University, Community College of Philadelphia, and many more as early adopters. The idea was to break the old model of user provisioning and create a new method which is painless, fast, predictable, scalable, and yet cost effective. Being in higher education for all these years, we identified few basic yet very important challenges users face on day-to-day basis, like multiple username and passwords, multiple login screens, security threats, and user onboarding, and many others. I shall now request Michael to talk about their major pain areas and how QuickLaunch has been able to help. Also, share his overall experience on working with QuickLaunch for over 2.5 years. Over to you, Michael.
Good afternoon. Yes, one of our major challenges that we did face and have faced with the students, faculty, and staff here on the campus was that they were dealing with several different applications on a daily basis that require login in separate screens. Users had to remember multiple passwords and log in separately to their daily use systems like Illusions, excuse me, Colleague, our learning system, our email, and several other applications that we have here on campus. The second biggest problem that the users started were forgetting their passwords, which became more and more of an issue. And as we know in IT, that can be an issue and sometimes annoying. We needed something in place that will help the users keep up better with their passwords and will give the IT department assistance with with better serving the college. We also ended up evaluating several vendors. However, the cost was an issue and concern for the college. Excuse me. So we ended up evaluating again different vendors, and then QuickLaunch approached us with their solution. They helped us out in transforming our user experience by providing a one-stop login experience. And the best part is that the users would the users only needed to remember one password, one username for all of their applications. Our users, as well as the IT staff, are quite happy with QuickLaunch solutions and their team. Users can now self-service their passwords in case of lockouts they forget. They can securely use the multi-factor authentication that we have in place also with QuickLaunch to reset their passwords. As you see on the screen, we have a Visio, Evolution Colleague, Moodle, and Office 365. And those are primarily some of the main applications that are used here on campus. So with that being said, with myself and the institution here at Roanoke Chowan Community College, we are very proud and we recommend QuickLaunch and this institution to continue. We recommend them to you all to help solve and fix any issues you have with the users at your institutions with their login problems. However, finding someone with that can really help budgetize and they can do everything from start to finish, getting everything set up. They were very, very helpful in doing everything, demos, color changing to a web page, everything that we needed them to do. They were right on point. They were quick in their response, and they were also they reached out to me with something I may have missed, but they were very, very on point and on task with everything, and we were very glad to have them and have their services with us here on the campus.
Great.
I was done.
Okay, thank you so much, Michael, for sharing your experience. If you can also share, while you implemented password manager, multi-factor authentication, and adaptive multi-factor authentication recently, has there been a change or a reduction in the number of help desk calls that you've been getting? Have students or staff been able to reset and recover their passwords on their own?
Yes, that has been a great tool to use. Again, one login. If they do happen to forget their passwords, it's a very simple process where they click on password manager or reset password. It takes them through a couple steps of authenticating, asking certain questions that they only have the answer to, and then once that's done, and it pretty much there are some that we have to assist on, every now and then, but for the most part, we'll have less calls, less issues with password changes, password resets. The users, staff, faculty, they like it. They have appreciated it, and we continue to support and encourage the staff, faculty, and students to use it, so they continue to familiarize themselves with it and have less issues. And it frees up the IT department to also do more here on campus.
Great. Thank you so much, Michael, for sharing your experience with QuickLaunch. And before we pass on the platform over to Neeraj, who is our CEO, and he can walk us through the product offerings, I would like to thank Michael for again sharing your experience. We would request you to be on standby because at the end of today's session, we'll be opening the lines for question and answers. So there might be some questions for you. And now I will pass on the platform over to Neeraj to take us forward from here.
All right.
Thank you, Russell. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you all are doing well. Excited to see mixed of member institutions dialed in on the call. I see we have University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. They've been with us forever. I have Carlos is on the call. They're one of our colleague institutions. I do see Roosevelt University from Chicago on the call. Good to see you guys. Again, they just recently joined QuickLaunch, a banner institution, and I do see a couple of PeopleSoft institutions. So from a student information system, looks like we've got mixed pool of institutions. So folks, let's get going. Michael has set the stage in regards with the challenges in higher education. I'm going to take it to the next level, seeing the experience which we have now after deploying close to 475 plus institutions. So what we saw today is Michael talked about single sign-on and password reset. And we strongly feel that the problem is way bigger than that. The problem starts with pretty much an applicant, which could come in from your application admissions module. It could be your Lucian's Recruit, or it could be any of the admissions module which you have. So I'm a prospect becoming an applicant, and finally, as I apply to be part of, let's say, Roanoke Chowan Community College as a student, typically, irrespective of your banner, your colleague, your PeopleSoft, that entry makes it to your student information system. So that's your entry point. That's where students are getting their accounts created. And one fine day, when I'm truly a student, this is where the problem starts. And we did a poll a few minutes back. Some of you have, in some shape and form, provisioning. Most of you are not even doing provisioning, or you have custom scripts doing the job of provisioning, deprovisioning. So again, the point that I'm trying to make is, how is that student going to make it to your Active Directory? Either you have some sophisticated tools running like Forefront Identity Manager, Microsoft Identity Manager, or most of you have custom scripts, or some of you are still in the bubble of doing those account creations manually. I believe most of you are out of that chaos already. So that's where the problem starts, wherein we're creating that accounts manually or via scripts, or you have a separate cost on you as information technology taking care of that account creation processes. Now, when the account creation processes are there, each one of you, I bet you on the call, are sending welcome letters as we speak during your users' onboarding, welcoming them to, let's say, Roanoke Chowan Community College, user ID NK, password ABC123, and some of you are using a better methodology of sharing the magic formula behind that password, or some of you have matured on the better processes after going through a bunch of audit of not giving them default password, rather giving them a method to self-construct the password. So the dotted red line indicates that some of you still have security concern, and the yellow indicates user experience, user challenge, user experience challenge. How can we improvise onboarding and make it self-automated, wherein there is no human intervention needed? That student, once becomes a student, obviously accesses multiple applications. To Michael's point, your student information system, learning management system, email system, you might have same username, or you might have even different user IDs and different passwords. Obviously, that's our sweet spot. QuickLaunch is going to fold our sleeves and will help you get towards oneness on user credentials so that you don't have to remember multiple username and passwords. And then on top of that, if you don't remember your passwords, unless you're using like 5 different password reset, which is a further chaos, if you have one, how can you also self reset your password instead of having to go through helpdesk again and again and again? Because that's a security, that's a cost, not a security, but a cost concern, because every call is going to cost you anywhere between $18 to $27, and we would like to avoid that as much as possible. So again, how can QuickLaunch comes in, fix the identity and access management problem at campus in a much cost-effective manner? But it's not always about cost; it's about the user experience. How can we work with you towards improvising that user experience and taking that to the next level. We're going to talk about quite a few products today. Single sign-on identity provider. We have few institutions on the call running ethos. How can we get you off ethos? We have Roosevelt, who's leaving or have left ADFS, and I'm going to use QuickLaunch. We have University of Arkansas Pine Bluff still using ADFS. How can we give you more? How can we give you cloud identity as a service instead of you maintaining, managing your local deployments, having a single point of failure, not having business continuity objectives met because again, we're living in 2019. Most and all of the applications are now in the cloud, believe it or not, including some of the institutions that banner either in the cloud or going towards cloud, Canvas, D2L, emails of the world, everything is in the cloud. So how can we give you that single sign-on and identity in the cloud? How can we also give you, on top of that, one password reset so that you don't have to go into Canvas, D2L, O365, and now O365 recently changed their licensing model. How should we give you one instead of five and deal with just one password reset because that's going to significantly reduce the call volumes? How can we put multi-factor on top of that? In the poll, interestingly, that we did today, either we were not clear or it's the reality that none of you are using adaptive authentication. What that means is Michael and I, we are best buddies. I have his password. Michael is in, let's say, Chicago and I'm in Cleveland. If I'm trying to log in as Michael, system wakes up and runs a security check and says, hey, your password is correct, but wait, you're not Michael. I need you to prove you're Michael. So how can we protect your banner admin pages, your colleague screens, your learning management and email? That's adaptive authentication. And why should we let you invest into Duo or Microsoft licensing for just doing adaptive on Microsoft or you enabling that on Google? How can we provide that oneness instead of having you or your students go through different products and having hard time even remembering how to use those products? We talked about self-registration, which is making sure that onboarding is smoother. And we're going to today cover provisioning, deprovisioning at length, show you provisioning in action. Recent product launches that we have just done is Smart Assistant, wherein we want to take this user experience to the next level. Back to the example of 2019, our kids are used to smartphones. My daughter would simply call Wake Up City, Google, and talk to them instead of even using or opening an app. She would be lazy enough to go to Google Maps. She would say, Siri, open Google Maps. So if we know that's the trend, how can we have your students connect to Siri and say, hey, connect me to Roanoke Chowan Community College help desk. You're connected. How can I help you? I'm looking for a password reset, not able to log in, unable to log in. There could be so many combinations. I could machine learn. I could make the program react and help me reset while I'm driving my car towards campus. That's awesome. That's the user experience which we need to provide to our students. And that's something which we are doing with Smart Assistant. So those are the products, folks, which we're going to look at covering. And without further ado, let's rock and roll. And what you should see up on the screen is consider this as your banner equivalent. It's a student information system. Here comes, which is going to look really, really familiar, your Active Directory. Here comes one login page. Instead of I'm trying to take you to Canvas or email, I'm going to just stick to one example here, which is one login page. So let's continue with the story. We're going to have a story wherein Michael is looking at joining Roanoke Chowan. And Michael is giving his user ID as Michael, last name is also Michael, my email address, my phone number. I've just used mine so that I can demonstrate you the power of the platform. And Michael is being entered into the system as a student. And again, this typically happens from your admissions module back into your banner, colleague, PeopleSoft. And the point that I want you to see today is in no time, I created that account. That's not the point, but in no time, that account is going to make it to Active Directory. Here comes Michael, real time into Active Directory under OU demo. That's significant. It's real time provisioning, deprovisioning, and it is rule controls. You, as an institution, define how to generate user ID. Typical example, a lady gets married, last name gets updated, last name is part of your user ID. How is that going to get changed? What is the process of pushing custom attributes? In this case, I picked up two attributes where I can convey that message to you. So entire provisioning, onboarding, admissions, student, faculty, staff, employees, all that is going to happen through QuickLaunch. You can get rid of your custom scripts. You can get rid of expensive tools like MIM and FIM, and we can truly automate that business process for you. A point I want you all to take a note of is there is no password which I defined for Michael. Michael has gone in without password, which is great. And why did I do that? Because I wanted to make sure that I give Michael this new generation of welcome letter, which says, hello, Michael, your account is created, fully customizable, help desk at Roanoke Chowan. Dear Michael, congratulations, you're active now. Click here for registration. So folks, this is the first interaction Michael would have. No need for admissions department requesting them to send welcome letters. It is fully automated. They can templatize the welcome letters and system would auto-generate them on need-be basis. For example, if you look at creating the accounts in AD a week in advance and you want the welcome letters to go out at the time of onboarding, you could do that. So this is my first interaction with Roanoke Chowan. System says, let's get started. Can I have your user ID? And I'm saying, cool, I'm Michael, let's rock and roll. And system immediately wakes up. So again, this is going to solve the problem with the default passwords by saying, let's get started, Michael. I know you using your email or SMS. Which one would you want to use? And I'm saying, I'm going to use email. At this point in time, system wakes up and sends me this one-time token, which is secure and uses in true shape and form multi-factor authentication. So here comes Michael presented with the phone option, provided one-time token. And this is for the first time as a student for Roanoke Chowan. I'm setting up my password. That's a big step, big change. And the password is not in QuickLaunch, folks. That's going back to your source of truth, which is Active Directory. The policies, complexities, governance is going to be with you, for you, by you, as part of your Active Directory. So as Michael, I've just defined my password. I'm good to rock and roll. And system takes me for the first time to the login page for Roanoke Chowan. I'm using Dutchess Community College login page, but I just want you to have the message loud and clear, which is this is my first login as Michael, which means I'm not going to give Michael banner, colleague, PeopleSoft link, or any other link. It is one link, one login, which is powered by Quick. So here comes first successful login. And Michael is being challenged to log in again. Why? Because we've done this multiple times. We understand higher education really well. This is an example where Michael was supposed to configure his profile during first login. We already knew his email and phone, but we want Michael to provide security questions as well, highly configurable. As an institution, if you don't like security questions, you can get rid of this option. Email is already there. Should we let Michael change it? We can give you an update button. Should we let Michael add one more email? Certainly yes. What is the phone number? Similarly, can Michael change the number or add one more number? Absolutely yes. And finally, folks, what you would see is Michael is all set to rock and roll. Here are a bunch of applications, pre-provisioned, automatically provisioned for Michael. knowing Michael is a student right now. So just take a note. You see banner number 1, canvas number 2, and again, the platform is role-based, access-driven. So depending upon who Michael is, these applications are going to appear, disappear. Not just banner. Can you have a link which says final grades, which means a shortcut to your colleague banner? Absolutely yes. Can we do other things, other applications? You can onboard as many as you want. Platform supports CAS, which I think some of you would know. It has full support towards ethos. When I say ethos, you don't have to maintain, manage your ethos. We give you ethos out of the box so that you don't have to maintain, manage, go through version upgrade nightmares. We've had some big universities like New Mexico State University leaving ethos coming to QuickLaunch just for that reason of going through some nightmares on upgrades, and being able to scale it because that was always on premise. Should you need SAML 2.0, OAuth, OpenID, WS Federation, all of that is built into the product when it comes to QuickLaunch Identity Provider. Folks, what I'm going to do is I'm going to log out. System is going to redirect me back to the login page. Let's go back to the story of Michael. Let's search for Michael, click on edit. And this time, let's make a change. Michael is no longer a student. Michael is staff. And again, QuickLaunch should push this change real time everywhere. So that change got updated, let's say in your student information system. Let's come back to Active Directory, refresh Michael, launch Michael, go to member of, and I should be seeing the view there. I'm just going to check that once again. So at this point in time, certainly Michael should now be a part of staff user. And here comes staff user. I'm just going to refresh once again. So here comes now. I just refreshed it. Took 30 seconds for that change to propagate. I do have Michael added to staff, which is excellent. So that role change has automatically appeared. And at this point in time, if I log back in, let's go back to the login screen, try to log in once again as Michael. So what should now happen is system should automatically change the look and feel. But before I show that to you, what I want to show you is system is also feeling a threat on Michael's account. And it's challenging Michael that, hey, Michael, I don't anticipate this is you, but if this is you, I need you to go through additional security verification. That's great. So let's look at why is that doing that. But again, point that I want to make is these are the applications or factors which are available and highly configurable. And we just recently launched YubiKeys, so that's one of the options available in case if you're a big YubiKey fans for folks who have keys to the kingdom. So in this case, I'm saying, okay, let's just use security questions to log in. Here is my answers to the questions, and my view has changed. So again, if you take a note, banner is gone, canvas is gone, but I have some other applications provisioned for me, which shows you that the platform automatically provisions, deprovision bunch of applications depending upon the rules, the governance which you have at your institution. And again, your rules could be totally different. You might want to move users into alumni as soon as they graduate, just remove them from AD, truncate them, put them in disabled. Each one of you might have different methods of handling account provisioning, and QuickLaunch probably would support all that, knowing that this is all configurable. Let's continue, log out, and let's complete that discussion by clicking on forgot your password. So I'm Michael, I don't remember my password, and I'm just putting my user ID, and system is not making you go through separate questions, right? It is one product. We want to reuse it for betterment, for better user experience. So again, the point that I'm trying to make is you don't have to implement Duo. You don't have to implement Tools Forever or Microsoft Password Reset and then have two of them struggle to talk to each other. It's one product. You could just use same factors all over again. So what is your oldest child name? I'm just going to put that in here. Here comes my second answer. Watch what just happened. It is now telling me pick up one more factor. So I'm now truly showing you the power of multi-factors. System wants me to go through minimum two with the use case that let's say Michael is indeed the guy who is keys to the kingdom because I just ended up putting in a staff role and staff role requires minimum two factor, student role requires just one. So again, that's highly configurable. Every institution can define their governance and maneuver these rules basis how each one of you foresees security at your campus. If I use SMS, again, what that one-time token is going to come, and as soon as I provide that one-time token code, I can reset my password right from this console without having to call help desk. I can pretty much do all of that as well. So that's quick view in regards with the product lines at QuickLaunch. What I'm going to do next real quick to show you a valid example, real example from one of our institutions, I'm going to take you to Microsoft. So let's go to Microsoft, bypass QuickLaunch, type in one of our institution domain, marine.edu, and watch what happens. It immediately identify that marine.edu is federated with QuickLaunch over to QuickLaunch. So again, what I'm trying to convey is if users try to go directly to your application, they will land on QuickLaunch, which is great. That's a true sense of a single login experience. And let's pretend or let's assume right now with a real user, I'm trying to log in. And what happens is even that two-factor is applicable for Microsoft. So should you enable two-factor on Microsoft? Do you really want to do that and just use it on Microsoft and then having separate method factors on your ethos, banner, PeopleSoft colleague? That's going to be a nightmare because if I call as a student and I'm saying I'm not able to log into ethos versus O365, I have different factors, I have probably different questions and answers. So that's one thing which I really wanted to convey loud and clear, which is you would have the power of using one platform, sort of horizontal across various applications. In the next release of QuickLaunch, we're also launching application-specific two-factor. What that means is we recently received requests from quite a few institutions that, hey, we have Michael, he should be the least privileged user, don't bother him too much, let him log in. But if he tries to use, let's say, banner admin pages, system should wake up and tell Michael, you got to prove me who you are. Use following factors for accessing banner colleague. Use following factors for accessing learning management system. So how can we also use these factors while launching applications? Great use case. We took the challenge. That's already in the roadmap, set to be released in a couple of months from now. But that's basically how we are productizing and reutilizing the engine, which we've already made up and running on these multi-factors. And again, from a family standpoint, lots and lots of new factors are being added as we speak. We just entered into hard tokens with YubiKey, and now the journey is going to continue. We'll soon be empowering institutions with biometric-based multi-factor authentication support as well. Typical example of probably attendance in the classroom, wherein you would put a biometric device. You could literally have students scan their finger and then walk into the class in case if you're taking examination. And that's not a use case which I just came up with. That's something which few institutions have requested for, wherein they would want to enable that biometric authentication for their classrooms during examination. So that's a quick product show and tell, folks. Again, there's a lot which we have to provide you, offer you. Again, the model at QuickLaunch is significantly different. Each one of you, we owe you a proof of concept. Roosevelt is a great example. They're on the call today. We showed them the pricing. They said thumbs up on the pricing, and we said, let's de-risk your investment. Let's do a proof of concept, and they did implement a proof of concept before signing, executing the contract. So those who are on the call, you're entitled to have a proof of concept. You're entitled to have a 30% discount on the licensing cost as well. Licensing cost is smartly done on active users, not on users. That's a big difference between QuickLaunch and other products because we don't believe in charging you for the users who are not using the system. We believe in charging you for the users who are concurrently using the system. So that's another big difference. With that said, I'm going to pass it on back to Russell so we can open it up for the questions and answers. Russell, back over to you.
Thank you so much, Neeraj, for taking us through the entire product. Great, guys. We are now going to pause for 2 minutes. You can type in your questions on the question pane on the Go to Meet webinar section, and then we can take those questions up. It can be both for Michael as well as Neeraj. Neeraj, we have one question for you. What all authentications do you support for single sign-on integrations?
So, folks, we support CAS, which should sound really familiar. And it's more of a CAS protocol service. It's not typical CAS because, again, we don't want you to have version upgrades and have chaos while doing version upgrades. CAS, SAML 2.0, OAuth, OpenID, ethos equivalent, in common integration, all these protocols are supported with QuickLaunch.
Great. We have one more. The question is, we use MIM for provisioning. How does automating provisioning work?
I think that's from that's from Bruce. So Bruce, I've worked on PIM. I've worked on MIM for my initial life. I've been very close on the identity side of the house. Few things we learned was what not to do on provisioning, deprovisioning well. Interfaces are clunky. I'm sure you have a contract with some vendor who takes care of your customizations, professional services. Idea with QuickLaunch was to provide you integration platform as a service. So this is a replacement to your PIM as one stop. Not only it'll give you provisioning, deprovisioning, it would automate that, and it'll give you all the bells and whistles that you have seen today, which is adaptive, password reset, multi-factor, single sign-on, smart assistant, shield, and quite a few other products. So it's a replacement to your PIM. Your existing rules would be redeployed on our tool. And the way we would take the project is you might challenge us. We have PIM. We don't want to disrupt that. Do a proof of concept. So what we would do is request you for your test banner, request you for your test active directory, and parallelly do a configuration using QuickLaunch. That way you can do an apple-to-apple comparison. And once you'll say thumbs up, we could do a go live in a phased manner, which is one of your OU going live on production, entire organizational structure going live, or we could just have like roles, student, faculty, staff going live. But whatever you're doing in PIM, all that can happen, and there is a lot more compared to PIM and MIM, which is available with the product.
Thank you, Neeraj, for answering that. We have another question from Sonia. How do we do banner to 80 provisioning, and do we support deprovisioning?
We use banner database connectivity, which I'm sure you're used to. Your custom scripts might be doing that as well. Unless you tell us you have the APIs available, we can do that as well. So that's how we do it. We're going to give you a magical view, which you would create on Banner that's going to feed from various tables, and we'll read that view and make it real time using hash value key pair. Do we do deprovisioning? Yes. Depending upon the rules, for example, if you tell us banner table tells me is active equals false, remove or move that user from Office 365, move them into OU disable. We can do the rules the way you want us to do it. Again, it's highly configurable, but we do support both provisioning, deprovisioning. And let me take it to the next level. Is it married to Banner and Active Directory? No. We could do O365 learning management, course creation, instructor population, student population, learner population. We can certainly replace any of your Banner legacy, LMG, LMB, EIS, DEIS, any of those components, and even Ethos identity framework can be replaced with this particular provisioning tool.
Thank you, NK. There is a follow-up question. Can QuickLaunch handle multi-groups?
We can certainly handle multi-group. You tell us how you want us to handle. I'm a staff, but I'm a part-time student. I should be under what group? You tell us the logic. We can do that for you, but we support all the, I am a part of group A or B, A and B. We can do all that combinations all day long. We could take it to the next level and working with you, do a member of, but also do what is my primary affiliation. If I'm wearing multiple hats, what is my primary affiliation? Basis which, what do you want me to see on QuickLaunch when I log in? And still let me see other things basis the other hats that I'm wearing. So we can certainly handle all those scenarios as well.
Thank you. We have one question for Michael. The question is, what was the implementation time frame that you had in implementing QuickLaunch single sign-on? Hey.
Time frame that, hello, yes, I'm here.
Okay.
The time frame that we had implementation, it wasn't really long at all. I would say, trying to remember, I would say I think it on our end, it took us about a good month because we're trying to get some things in place. It could have been less. QuickLaunch didn't have an issue with with us. We were just trying to get things together because we were busy. But I think a good month was a decent enough time. It could have been shorter, but I just don't remember in details. But it wasn't a long process. Once they got what they needed from us, AD and AD and L, well, AD and everything, single sign-on, everything that they needed, they were pretty much quickly we were implementing what needed to be implemented, and then testing on our end. So the process really wasn't that long, but want to make sure everything was in place. Also, QuickLaunch wanted to make sure everything was in place on our behalf, and they want to make sure that we was comfortable also. So I would say at least a decent month.
Great. Thank you so much, Michael, for taking that up. Neeraj, we have one question for you. Do we support multi-factor on a particular application?
Currently, we have multi-factor available for all the apps, and I did mention that it's in the roadmap. We'll be supporting app-based multi-factor in next couple of months. Before end of this year, we are certainly launching two-factor on the app basis as well.
Great. Thank you so much. I do not see any more questions, and I think we set up about like 45 minutes for today's session, so time is almost up. I would like to thank Michael and Neeraj both for taking out time for today's session, and everybody who's joined us today. We will follow up with you via email. You would get the presentation shared on today's session as well as the recording of the session. You can get back to us if in case you have any further follow-up questions. Once again, thank you so much for dialing in. This is QuickLaunch team signing off. Thank you.